All right, welcome to Closing the Growth Gap. I'm Ben Scanlon, co-founder of Mosaic Growth Solutions. Closing the Growth Gap is where I share my insights on the most interesting topics of growth and marketing based on my experience assessing hundreds of B2B SaaS companies and helping drive millions in growth. We have three great topics to get to today. First up, Mert Bürian breaks down Hoka's growth and through that has some great lessons for all challenger brands. And then Lenny Rachitsky interviews Mike Maples Jr., who's a super interesting guy, very successful, who has some very interesting insights to share with us, including 3 things successful founders do differently. And then finally, Marty Gao, who's CEO of 𝗚𝗿𝗲𝘀𝗀𝘀, announces they're shutting down. And he shares his lessons from that experience. You know, that's something I hate to hear, but hopefully we can learn something from his experience so we can all be successful moving forward. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's start off with this post by Mert Bürian. The Hoka success story, winning in the shoe market. I love when an underdog brand disrupts big brands by discovering and focusing on an unmet need of the category by listening to what consumers are saying. And I love that too. This is the key component for challenger brands. So look at what Hoka did and see if you can follow. Hoka is now on the way to becoming a big name in the shoe market. They did things differently to stand out from the competition. Hoka started in 2009 with a new idea for running shoes. Their shoes have big, thick soles and give extra comfort and support. This unique design caught the attention of many runners. Hoka was founded by Nicolas Mahmoud and Jean-Luc Diard, 2 trail running enthusiasts from France. They wanted to create a shoe that allowed runners to go downhill faster and with more control. Their innovative idea led to the creation of the first Hoka shoe with an oversized sole, which provided better cushioning and stability. Despite initial skepticism, their design quickly gained popularity among the ultra runners and trail runners, setting Hoka on the path to success. And then he goes into their numbers, and obviously they're growing significantly and have achieved a decent market share. But the most important part is what they did differently, and this is where the lessons are for all challenger brands. Unique design. Hoka shoes have thick soles and are very light, giving runners great comfort and performance. Initially perceived as ugly by some, their bold design choice helped Hoka stand out in a crowded market and ultimately became a key differentiator. The exaggerated sole not only provided unparalleled comfort and performance, but also became a distinctive feature that set Hoka apart from other brands. You can see a picture of it here. You see this huge sole, and if you've seen Hokas, you know how they stand out. But the key point here is not differentiation or distinctiveness. You want both. You have to be differentiated if you're a challenger brand. There's just no way around it. Try not to differentiate, and then you'll see yourself fail. So you need to be differentiated, but you also need to be distinct. And so that's what Hoka's managed to do here. So that's a key for challenger brands. The next thing is smart marketing. Hoka first focused on niche markets like trail runners. They later reach out to more people with big marketing campaigns. And so this is the next thing for challenger brands. Find that niche. Be the best in the world at a niche. Talk to your competitors' customers and understand where your competitor is weak and be the best in that area. So this is how you grow. I mean, your big competitor has all the advantages. You look at the data and the research and the laws. It says, hey, the big companies are going to win. But this is how you do. This is how you play into these markets: is finding that niche and being the best at it. And then finally, community building. Hoka created a strong community with events and social media. This made people loyal to the brand. And so this is something that's near and dear to my heart, which is evangelism. You got to find people who are going to evangelize your product. And so it could be even, smaller evangelists who don't have a huge following. I mean, obviously, the more the better, but you want to have people who are going to speak on your behalf, are going to promote you just organically. And so that's a trusted relationship with the other people that are engaged with them. And so when they say this, this is a great shoe brand, people are going to listen to them. That's that word of mouth and evangelism. So those are 3 critical components for any challenger brand. The first thing is it's not distinct or differentiated. It's both. You want to be both. And then you want to focus on that niche, be best in the world in a specific niche that your competitors are weak at. And so then you're going to be able to actually make moves in the market. People are going to be interested in what you're doing. And then finally, finding evangelists, building that word of mouth is another key component of challenger brand growth. All right, now I want to share this post from Lenny Rachitsky. And he has an interview with Mike Maples Jr., who's a really interesting guy. I've been following him for a while, so curious about his insights here. And he goes through what they talk about in the interview. Definitely go check that out. He has some key takeaways, but the thing I really want to focus on are these 3 things that successful founders do differently. A, movements. A movement aligns early believers around a higher purpose, leveraging their emotional commitment rather than its pragmatic benefits. Storytelling. Frame your startup story as a hero's journey. Position yourself not as a hero, but as a guide, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, who invites customers, the heroes, to embark on a transformative journey towards a better future. And then the last thing is disagreeableness, which is funny. Founders who challenge the status quo often appear disagreeable because they defy conventional norms. Now, these are 3 great points. This is something I talk about a lot, which is A, developing a vision and inspiring your employees, inspiring your customers. So you have to have this vision. You have to create this movement around what you're doing. You have to be better than others. And so you create this movement, get this passion, get this inspiration. Companies that do that are going to be more successful. Then storytelling, which I talk about a lot. And the thing about storytelling is, yes, craft your company's story, but you also want storytelling just to be imbued in what your whole company does. You want your advertising to be focused on storytelling. You want to build these emotional connections. You want to make it memorable. And that's what storytelling does. This is a great way of building memories and tying emotion to it. So that's the reason why you want to focus on storytelling. So I'm glad that Mike highlighted this. And then disagreeableness. And so I say making enemies. And that's the thing. If you're doing something great, if you're doing something different, you're going to have enemies. You have to focus on things that are negatives for your customers and prospects and say, we're going to battle those things for you. We're going to solve those things for you. It may not necessarily be a competitor, though it could be, but you have to have these enemies that you're fighting against. And yes, you're going to look disagreeable at times because you're against these things. So that's disagreeable. It looks like that you're showing that you're against these things. But that's necessary in order to really grow your company. You have to be against things as well. So 3 great points from Mike. I'm glad Lenny highlighted these here. Definitely check out the whole interview. Okay, finally, I want to highlight this post by Marty Gao, who's co-founder and CEO at 𝗀𝗲𝗀𝗀. And he says in it, a few days ago, we decided to close 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 after an unsuccessful M&A process in 2 years and a half, struggling to find product market fit. In this article, I share my learnings being as transparent as possible. I hope this can help other founders as much as writing about it has helped me. And I hate to see posts like this. I mean, certainly he poured a lot of his effort, his work, his passion into this. A lot of people did. And so you just hate to see companies not be successful, especially when they're just trying to make people's lives a little bit better through what the software they're providing. And so it's hard, it's hard to read. And so best of luck to him moving forward. But I do appreciate that he shared his learnings from his experience. So definitely check out his article on Medium. Take a look at his post and check out his article on Medium, especially if you're a CEO or founder. He's got a lot of great, interesting insights across his entire experience. But the thing I really want to talk about was he talks about MVP, minimum viable product. And the thing about it is the way that a lot of people are doing minimum viable products is just a recipe for disaster. And I've personally experienced this because you say, I have this great idea. What I'm going to do is put out a product and learn from it. And so the thing about it is getting your prospects and your customers' time and attention is like the most difficult thing to do in business. And so it's just not a good use of their time. It's actually abusing their time for them to help you figure out your product and figure out what's going to work. Instead, it's better to go through and understand their needs in great detail, understand their pain points, and solve for that. They need to see value very quickly. Doing a minimal viable product where you're like, I have this great idea, I know it's going to work, I just need to get in front of people and they can give me feedback and test it out and I can improve it. It's a waste of resources because it is so hard to get in front of people, to get their attention and get their engagement. And so you want to treat that like gold. You don't want to use that for testing your product, not if you have a small brand. And then it's just wasting their time too, because you're saying, hey, help me improve my product. The better way to do it is to go solve a problem better than anyone else. And it, like I said before, it may be in a very specific niche. It should be in a specific niche where you're better than anyone else and they can see value easily and quickly. And so they want to keep using the product. You have to do that. You can't just put out a product that based on a great idea that doesn't work really well. And I don't know that Marty did that, but he does talk about MVPs in here and how MVPs have changed. And so it's really important as a startup, as a founder, that you go through and solve someone's problems quickly and completely. And even if it's that niche, but they have to be able to see value very quickly. You just can't go out with a great idea and say, help me make this better because it's a great idea. It's not a good use. And so we need to move away from MVP. It's a terrible idea. People are going to say, hey, this just isn't working for me, and you're not going to be able to get their attention back again. So treat that attention, treat their time like gold, and make sure you deliver value to them as quickly as possible. And then maybe they'll be willing to help you improve your product, but don't start knowing that it's not buttoned up, that they're going to have trouble seeing value, or they're going to have trouble using the product, which is keeping them from seeing value. You want to make sure they see value as quickly and easily as possible. All right, 3 great lessons for growth today. 1, let's learn from Hoka. It's differentiation and distinctiveness. That's what's critical. And then focus on that niche and being best in the world in the niche. That's how you're going to capture your competitors' customers. 2, Mike Maples Jr. shares some interesting points that successful founders do differently, and I interpret it as inspire employees, develop that vision, tell stories, and then you're going to make enemies. So he calls it disagreeableness. I say it's making enemies, but it's 3 important points that successful founders do differently. And then finally, think about MVP. Don't just go out there and say, I have a great idea. Here's a product. Help me improve it. Go out there and make sure that your prospects and customers see value quickly and meaningfully. And don't just say, I have a great idea. Go out and test this for me. Make sure they see that value quickly and meaningfully. And that's a key part of being successful and driving growth.